Hi, classmates. This is Vada Visockis joining you this evening from Arizona, and I'd like to share with you my analysis of Horace Mann's philosophy and overall contributions to education. Horace Mann is a striking figure within American education because he seemed to espouse the strong view that if all Americans were provided with the same quality of education, and applied themselves to that education, that they could be upwardly mobile and improve their lot in life. As a result, Horace Mann is someone that I chose to examine more closely. However, you cannot examine what Horace Mann brought to America without examining his background and how it is that he arrived at his views on education. Horace Mann was born to a Protestant family in Massachusetts that regularly struggled with financing. He was able to attend the community school and received primary education. Unlike many New Englanders at the time, however, Mann was able to go on to higher education, which is where he was exposed to philosophers and the Transcendentalism movement. During that process, Mann became quite the reformer and turned his reform ideals to education. As he increased in prestige, Mann became first a member of Congress and then the overseer of Massachusetts schools. Mann's view of what education should be is something that's worthy of note. Mann wanted education to bring consistency across America. He wanted one student in one school to receive much the same content and instruction as a student in another school. Mann also felt that teaching was a true profession and that teachers need to be given proper training and proper respect as professionals. Mann felt that the Bible needed to be read in schools and that the school should be a conduit for sharing overall American values. Mann felt that every American was entitled to an education, and therefore it was the job of the American public and the American government to provide that education using public dollars. Mann felt that with all of these things, we could bring much greater equality to America. Some would even argue that perhaps Mann was pushing for his view of utopia on America. Humans are complicated. Mann absolutely wanted to increase equality in America, but did not seem to take into consideration the impact that that would have on individuality. America is a very individualistic country, and equality should not be the superimposing of other people's values on another individual. Further, Mann was willing to compromise. Mann was willing to go with secular versions of education, which put off those who felt like religious teachings should happen in school. Lastly, Mann's idea of the school as a way to convey societal norms and morals was probably where the beginning of the melting pot idea began. And in recent decades, thinkers have challenged that idea. Thinkers have challenged the idea that melting pot is the way that we should be. Rather, people argue that perhaps we should be embracing each other's differences, celebrating each other's cultures, and allowing everyone a certain amount of choice. Certainly, Mann's philosophy, as it appeared in the 1850s, there have been challenges to that in the 21st century. There are neoliberal educational ideas and the school choice movement. The rise of charter schools is all about individualism and choice. Simply by having choice within American education, we are going away from Mann's ideal of consistency and conformity. Further, with the way that we fund American education and have for a long time, we will always go against what Mann wanted most, which was equality. So long as American education is funded with property tax dollars, there will always be a disparity because there will not be equal distribution of educational dollars. Therefore, the educational system is actually part of a rapidly forming system of socioeconomic segregation. Lastly, Mann's idea about secularism needs to be balanced out against the needs of all Americans. Some Americans really need to embrace education and their religion at the same time. Others need a place where they can express their views freely and not feel as though they are wrong for posing individualistic ideas. Ultimately, I still feel that American education is a gift from Horace Mann. I just feel like in the next years, we have a long way to go with getting back to what his original vision would have looked like, while still scoping this in a way that is appropriate for all Americans and embraces all Americans' individualism.